Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Hollywood After Dark. It is Thursday. Freaking this March 14th. It's Pi Day here in Hollywood. We're going to be talking about all the news that you missed this morning and yesterday. A lot going on. Sydney Sweeney throwing some shade at least the studio system that she doesn't give much of a crap about anymore. A lot going on. Let's dive right the hell on in. Hey, what's going on, everybody? How you guys doing? Welcome back to Hollywood After Dark. It is this Thursday. It's this the beginning of my work week, but I wanted to go live today, not only on the YouTubes, but on the Twits as well. We've been doing pretty well by getting a decent number of people watching over there on the Twitter space. So welcome to the party. If you guys are new, please do me a solid and throw a like and a retweet. If you're here from the YouTube HWAD squad, be sure to say hello in the chat. There's a lot going on today, and we're going to be diving right on in. Let me take a look here at the chat. Kadeem pulling in saying, good on Sweeney. I think she's going to be a huge star in the future. Sony, I'm telling you guys, you're the ones that started this mess with Madam Web. Fire your dumb executives. There's a lot there to unpack, and as we get to that story later on, we will absolutely be diving into that one there. I see Music Man. I see Patrick. What's up, guys? Anthony Beltray. How's it going? Thank you all again, Music Man and Anthony, for being channel members. Really appreciate that. So I said, as we start building in more people from not only the Twits, but the YouTubes, why don't we dive on in? The first thing today that I wanted to chit-chat about, actually, is this reboot of The Crow. Now, if you don't know about this reboot, this thing has been basically, like, for the long and short of it, stuck in development hell for a long time. This reboot is a remake, a reimagining, if you will, the 1994 classic film that we've been waiting for quite some time. And it's actually generated some buzz not that long ago. But the reason for that had everything to do with just kind of like how Bill Skarsgård looked. But this upcoming remake is actually being directed by Rupert Sanders, who did the Snow White and the Huntsman. I forget some other stuff he's done as well. He did that. I think he did that Dracula Untold movie. I could be wrong on that one. But anyway, this movie actually promises to be grittier and a more violent reimagining of the original comic book story. If you've seen the trailer, that is 100% accurate. They did not shy away from violence in that trailer. I thought the trailer was actually really good. Bill Skarsgård did quite well. It looks like a well-directed, fun, violent as hell movie. I can't say that I'm against it at this point in time. That first imagery didn't work. It just didn't work. This did not look good. This time around, it looks to be a bit more crazy, and I'm happy with that. If you don't know what the story is, the story follows Eric Draven, who is now played by Bill Skarsgård, not Brandon Lee, a man brought back from the dead to avenge the murder of his fiancée, Shelley. This trailer does showcase a much darker tone, leading into the supernatural elements of the story, while also centering itself on the tragic love story that is at its core. It also is the focus, having focus, I should say, on a crime noir aesthetic and some themes. The first one is kind of like that as well. The villain in this movie, I don't know. I don't care about the villain. Like, from what they showed us, it kind of just seems like your standard average cookie cutter villain. But it's going to be hard to top, Michael Wincott from the original 1994 film. It's very difficult to top Michael Wincott in anything. You can't beat that dude's raspy voice and the poise he had on film. You have to love it. This particular movie poises to captivate audiences that are craving a more edgier and mature take on the source material. I don't quite know 100% like how that's going to play out, to be quite honest with you, because it's like when they say we want to do like edgier and more mature, and the original content that they're pulling from is not only a graphic novel, but a beloved cult classic that showed had the death of a real up and coming talent, with Brandon Lee. It's kind of difficult to like hedge all your bets on that, in my particular opinion. But this particular adaptation, reboot, reimagining, whatever you want to call it, has had a very long and very tumultuous journey to get back to the big screen, right? You got to remember that this whole thing started back in 2008 when the project was going to be invigorated. It went through multiple directors and writers and lead actors who were attached over the years. Like Lee Evans was attached at one point. I think that had to do with the fact that, he would have been a good Crow, but there's like Jason Momoa was also involved, to the point of where they were going to film the movie, but they ended up like backing out like a couple days into production or right before production began. I mean, there's been legal battles, creative differences, scheduling conflicts that all consistently derailed progress of trying to get The Crow remade. And like I said, like you had Jack Huston, Jason Momoa, there was the director Corn Hardy, who all left at varying parts of the production due to how bad it was, how crazy it was. Now Bill Skarsgård is at the helm of starring in this, and Sanders is directing it. And I don't know if I'd say fans are necessarily like, I don't know, some of the articles I was reading, at least the information I'm pulling from here, is saying that fans are cautiously optimistic that this version can finally break the development cycle, the cursed development cycle of the movie. But at the same time, my question then becomes, can it actually, like, is the cursed part of it the whole death of Brandon Lee? Or is it just as kind of how Hollywood is in regards to things going in and out of creative reboots or reimaginings or just different teams coming on in before something finally gets made? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's one of the things that's definitely an issue that I've noticed. But I do agree here with the concept that if executed well, we could see The Crow becoming maybe more contemporary in the space of graphic novel adaptations and comic book films in general. I mean, it's not to say that they haven't expanded on the universe. I mean, you had The Crow, then you had The Crow City of Angels, which is a weird movie. There was like the third Crow film, I think, that had Kirsten Dunst in it. And then there was a fourth Crow movie with Edward Furlong, John Connor in it. So I don't know if this movie could breathe new life into the franchise while still kind of like playing reverence to the beloved original's cult status. You know what I mean? I don't quite know if that's possible in any particular way, but it is one of the things where we have to think about like these reboots, right? Like, do we want it? That's kind of a question. That's kind of a question. Like, do we want it? Though I agree with Perp here. Perp Minded here says, I'm sold on the movie, but that trailer did not need to be 3 minutes long. I was a little bit, yeah, with that one, to be fair. I'm sitting down on my laptop. I'm getting ready to research today's show. The trailer pops up. I'm like, all right, 3 minutes is a bit long. And what they showed mostly was a lot of the violence. And the violence looks really cool. The violence looks like really cool, But I also kind of wonder if it kind of like showed too much of the violence. Did it show all the cool scenes? Like, remember the opening, the first trailer we ever saw for like Atomic Blonde, with her just kicking the crap out of those guys in the stairwell, and everyone really liked it. And the movie had a lot of good action scenes, but that was still really like the best one and the one that they led the marketing with. So when you finally saw the movie, you kind of already got the meat of the action right away. That is something that I'm not entirely too sure about in regards to like if that was the right call. But that being said, this does have my interest. I do want to see it, and everything else. Let's see here. Music Man says, I looked at the comments on the trailer and they were shitting on this film. And he's like, it's not even out yet. Well, that's the whole point. They do this, right? Saulo here says the Crow reboot actually looks pretty good. Again, I agree. I was surprised with how much I enjoyed it. I was surprised with how much interest I had in it following that trailer. I went into it, not gonna lie, I went into it thinking this is going to be kind of crappy. This is not going to be good. This is not going to be fun. This is going to be like, do we need this again? And then no, like Bill Skarsgård's a good actor, man, and like FK Twigs looked all right in the part. It was the villain though that like felt cookie cutter to me, right? It was the guy, like the bad guy from Wonder Woman. I forget his name. He usually plays a villain in these movies. And it's like, is it like a drug thing, a mob thing? Like Michael Wincott. I got to rewatch the original Crow. It's been a long time, but I remember Michael Wincott in the role. I remember, him being the bad guy. And then, of course, there's the whole Brandon Lee death thing and everything else. And I'll definitely have to revisit those movies before this new one comes out, obviously. I'll sit through the Crow City of Angels. I'll tell you a quick story about that. When the Crow City of Angels came out, I wasn't 17. I think it was like 96, 97. So I was like 14, 15 years old at that point in time. And in Portland, they were giving away tickets for a midnight showing of the movie. And I loved seeing The Crow, and I really wanted to go see The Crow City of Angels. So I got up like at 6 in the morning, and I was like a teenager, like 14, 15. Go and I jump on the city bus. I take it all the way to the other side of East Portland. I lived over in the suburbs, right? And I take it all the way over to the other side. I get there by 8 o'clock in the morning. By the time that they're opening up this little music store where they're giving away the tickets, and I get my hands on the screening passes. And then the only person I could take with me is my stepdad. I take my stepdad to go see this movie, and there's a part in the movie where like one dude is like in a sex show, and he starts beating off, right? And I was like, shit, oh man, this is, what kind of movie is this? And even my stepdad's like, what kind of movie did you drag me to? But this is a guy who like sat with me when I was a kid, and we watched Aliens and Halloween and all these horror movies and stuff. But that was like, whoa, man, that's right. It was a little bit weird. It was a little awkward, that part of the movie. I think that's one of the reasons why I don't think I've gone back to see it again. Like, that was just very uncomfortable for like a teenager to again, masturbation, perfectly normal. No one's going to argue against that. But it's just kind of weird when you're sitting in a movie with like your stepdad and this guy. It's like, it's not graphic, but it's very obvious what he's doing, and you're like, ah. But anyway, it is just that. Vince here says, what did I walk into beating off? I'm telling a story about fucking the Crow City of Angels, man. That's what happened. Eric here says, I'm cautiously optimistic. The trailer was okay. The original Crow is among my 10 favorite films. I still own the original soundtrack on CD and film on VHS. I wore out The Big Empty by STP. Yeah, well, STP is awesome. Rest in peace, Scott Weiland, obviously. But yeah, The Crow is going to be one that I think is going to be interesting. It should definitely be a conversation starter when it comes out this summer, and I'm excited to see it. But here's a story that popped up yesterday that I thought was really fascinating, and that, of course, is Ted Sarandos is talking about AI in filmmaking and saying that it can't replace filmmakers because there's ultimately no shortcut for the human experience. And he's not wrong on that whatsoever. But here's what we know. So, like, right now, there is an AI revolution that's happening. There's no way to deny it. There's no way to deny that the AI revolution continues to disrupt various industries. Hollywood, Netflix, I mean, we know it, right? So co-CEO Ted Sarandos did weigh in on this technology's potential for what it can do down the road, right? For its impact on filmmaking and storytelling. So in this interview with Rob Lowe, of all people, Sarandos addressed the concerns of AI that could eventually replace human creatives. Sarandos firmly states that his belief is that while AI can be a useful creator's tool, it can't replace the authenticity and the human experience that is required for the truly resonant storytelling. Think about that, for example, right? Look at the type of storytelling that we get out of movies like Poor Things and Killers of the Flower Moon and, even Barbie. There are some very human stories contained within. Ted Sarandos goes on to cite the global phenomenon that's Squid Game, which is kind of funny because, as an example, for it being very specifically Korean in its perspective and its realism, is something that AI would struggle to recreate authentically. That's true. One of the things with that, though, is that AI would not be used to like create the settings. It wouldn't be used as a one-stop shop for everything. You would need a human hand to be able to actually like dive in and craft it. But it could give you the tools and the ability in some ways to actually like get it, to figure out ways to get something done or to expand on a scene or to whatever. There's things you can do with that one. But anyway, the Netflix chief did argue that there are no shortcuts when it comes to crafting stories that come from or that form deep personal connections with audiences. He envisions that AI will be assisting creators, but he doubts that films will spit out entire movies or will be spit out entirely by AI that achieve any kind of emotional impact. Truth of the matter is that's actually not true. That's actually not true. The emotional impact is in the eye of the audience. The emotional impact is in the eye of the person who's watching it. If they don't know that it's AI, or even if they do know that it's AI, if it touches upon that certain emotional impact, That's what they're going to respond to. And AI is since built on the concept of trying to predict the best word to come next or the best element to come next based upon the prompt that you give it and its training data. It wouldn't be hard for something to be tapped into because it is trained on the human experience. And it really does boil down to just how the individual themselves take everything. But Sarandos did suggest a future where Netflix users could leverage these AI tools on the platform to generate their own custom content combinations or entirely new concepts. And I think that's where it's going. All right. You have to ask yourself here, like, is AI moving to the place, or is the industry, should say, is the industry moving to a place where artificial intelligence will allow them to create their own individual experiences that are just tailor-made for them, not something that's going to be shared by the mass audience out there, but personal tailor-made experiences. And that is both good and also remarkably scary in some ways, because the way I view it is, yeah, it'd be really cool to have an idea tailor-made to me that would definitely embrace my interests as just a person who likes to hear good stories. But then that's my interest, my tailor-made content. Would other people find that to be interesting? Could we have conversations over that? And the answer to that is no. It would very much delineate the broader, you could argue, water cooler discussions over this kind of stuff. But at the same time, if at the end of the day, the person is getting value out of that content, is that really such a bad thing? Is that really such a terrible thing? And I think that's something a lot of people are going to have to reckon with, both those who are pro and against artificial intelligence. But going back to Sarandos, he did question whether or not viewers would embrace AI-generated stories over those from human filmmakers. Sarandos' stance does align with major Hollywood guilds like the WGA and SAG-AFTRA, which fought for stricter AI limitations in the recent contracts, which they didn't really get, to be fair. I mean, sure, they have their fears of human writers being replaced and actors being replaced by AIs, but at the same time, like, they didn't really do much to really kind of like stop it from being a thing. You know what I mean? Like, it was really a lot of much ado about nothing on their end. They played it up, they played the game, they played the part, but they didn't really win out on that stuff, because at the end, the people who cut the checks are the people who are going to be pushing the technology. And especially if you look now at telecom companies getting into film content, getting into media content, streaming content, things like that, their goal is to make as much money as possible for their shareholders. And it doesn't matter how much actors and writers and everybody else doesn't want to go along with all of their plans. At some point, they're not going to have an option to do so, because to push back against it, because they're not the ones that are cutting the paychecks. Right. And it's not to say that the audiences are always going to want to be for all of these kind of things, you know, that they're always going to be for everything put out by an auteur. You know what I mean? Like Killers of the Flower Moon, $200 million movie, right? Didn't gross that back in theaters. You know, it's like, but Scorsese's already going to be getting the budget to go work on another movie. That will eventually run out, but that's only going to work for certain creators that have been around for a long period of time. The new players coming into the game are really, really, really going to have to like work harder. And that might be where AI comes in to benefit them, because they're going to have to put out more content to keep up with the constant churn of subscribers in these particular streaming services, the decline of theaters. It's an issue. It's a real big issue. I'm kind of all over the place, I'll fully admit. It's a whole big topic of conversation. But look, going back down to it, as AI, like as their capabilities rapidly evolve, the debate will only intensify. And that is something that we are all going to have to largely reckon with. I know I am pro AI and people don't like me. Look at this pink silk guy here. This guy and his AI, man. This guy and his AI. What's he talking about? This is next story. This is the future of the industry. I love these responses. I do. I love these responses, because what you don't realize is where the industry is. You don't realize where it's going. You don't realize what's happening. Have you looked at Sora? Have you seen what OpenAI is doing with that? It's not, they're talking now about it being released publicly by the end of the year. What I'm thinking is that they're going to start like giving it out to filmmakers and creatives first to see what they do with it. Because as this tool becomes more and more readily available, okay, and it becomes more and more readily available, what we have to remember, all right, what we have to remember is that the filmmakers will use this content because that's what's going to be available to them. And if they get access to the stuff early on, they'll normalize it, which is exactly what OpenAI and Pika Labs and Runway and all these other companies that are doing text to video or image to video or video to video generations are going to want. And as the content becomes cheaper and better and they can find ways to implement it in Blender and UE5 or even Unity, and cut down on production costs for visual effects, you're going to see things change. What I love this here. I don't know who the fuck you are. I don't know who the fuck you are. No other movie channel is talking about this except for this one. Yeah, because I'm the one that pays the fuck attention to what's going on. Why? Oh, whoa, Grace and John Campia aren't talking about it. They'll talk about it when it becomes okay to talk about. I might be the only asshole that's out here talking about it because I can tell you exactly what's going to happen. I can tell you how it's going to happen, and I can tell you exactly why it's going to happen because I might be the only asshole paying the fuck attention when it comes to this topic. I understand that it scares people. I get it. I understand that entirely. But what we have to realize is we're not living 100 years ago. 100 years ago, we were just into the talkies, right? We were just into the talkies 100 years ago. Hollywood has been around for 100 years. Look where it's come in 100 years. Where the fuck do you think it's going to go in the next 100 years? Not even that. Where the fuck do you think it's going in the next 25 years? As we start getting in more and more to like streaming online, VR headsets, the metaverse, if you will, as people start being able to have tailor-made content directly for their interests, we're going to start seeing all of these things change. For some reason, a bunch of you are like fucking ostriches and you have your head nestled into the sand because you're like, la 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 la. La 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 la. You don't want to fucking deal with it. And I get that. And I understand that it's scary, but this is the future. This is the future. And I'm not going to sit there and hold anyone's hand and tell you that it's all going to be okay. I'm going to try to show you the tools and talk about it in a way that could potentially benefit you as a person who enjoys content, tailor-made content for you, right? The people that are so massively upset over this don't realize, especially the artists, I'll be fair, the artists right now should be fucking lapping up every bit of information. And I bet you a lot of them already are because they know that as soon as this hits mainstream, that's where their bread and butter is going to come from. Remember, you won't be replaced by artificial intelligence. You'll be replaced by someone who knows how to use it. That's what these people need to remember. And that's what I'm talking about. Even Ted Sarandos there agrees with me because Ted Sarandos is saying that this is a tool that's going to benefit filmmakers. He doesn't think that people will just want to have a fully AI created story and think that they're going to get something out of it, that they want handcrafted human emotions and human experiences. Yeah. And those are going to be edged on and helped out by artificial intelligence. It's like, holy fucking shit. It's not that fucking hard to think about. So hold on. If you want your views to go past the tens and who gives a shit? I got a full-time job that I like, and I talk about this as a hobby. What do you do? That's my question. I don't know who the fuck you are. All right. But you're sitting there. Wait, hold on. I won't be here in 100 years. I'm already 19. Oh, okay. There we go. 19 years old, and he's talking about going to a critical drinker stream. Holy fucking shit. We just pegged the incel. Oh my God. Fuck Jesus Christ, man. 19-year-old. You gotta love 19-year-olds who think that they know everything. I know, because when I was 19, I thought I knew everything too. But I'll tell you what, in the time between 19 and 41, which is what I am, I went to film school. I went to Los Angeles. I made a movie. I've written a bunch of films. I've done viral marketing for movies. I've done short films, documentaries, web series, music videos. No television pilot, because I never got into that particular world, but I've done a lot and I've paid attention to a lot. And I get a lot of people who are in the industry that follow me on Twitter, and they'll tell me I'm on the money when I call out the bullshit. because I pay attention to what the fuck is going on. People like Critical Drinker, who apparently is dick, you just want to go fucking spit suck, whatever. Fuck, I can't even talk right now. Go fuck suck his dick. All right. Because the thing with people like him is he doesn't even understand how the industry works. He doesn't. It's an act. It's kayfabe. It's not real. He puts on this idea because he knows idiots like you, 19-year-old idiots like you, suck it up. Just fucking suck it down like it's a goddamn milkshake. And the same with other people in this particular fucking industry as well. The other YouTube movie channels, they don't work in the industry. They think that they saw they saw a behind the scenes making of Superman Returns in 2006 and they thought, I got it. Jesus. Anyway, Patrick says, I love Dan Murrell, Chris Sean, Chandler, 3C Films. I mean, yeah, they're fun. Yeah. I mean, Murrell, I would say anytime he starts talking about like movie profitability, I would disregard that because it's flawed data. He doesn't have access to everything. So when he's talking about like movies and their profitability margins, it's a gamble. It's a crapshoot. Right. But people out there, because he says it confidently, they believe that he's confidently talking about this. So anyway, it's that one right there. RJ says we've lost the youth and lost the culture war. It's Jover. I mean, you're not really wrong. You're not really wrong on that one. Right. So Left Face here says, bro, you don't validate your existence with views. No, I'm good, man. You know, that's why he gets 3 million views per video. Yeah, there's a lot of idiots out there. And also we could spend, I don't want to dwell on this for too long, and I shouldn't because you're a fucking moron, but God damn it, I'm going to say this one anyway. YouTube operates on an emotional response level, meaning that their algorithm will feed you more content based upon things you have a higher emotional reaction to. And it can tell this specifically by how many videos of one person's content you engage with, you comment, you like, you watch all the way through. The longer you're on the platform watching their content, the more of that kind of content they're going to recommend to you. Meaning that the videos that Critical Drinker does, because he puts out videos that are very similar, very vapid every single day. Same with Nerdrotic, Geeks and Gamers, Ryan Kinnell, Yellow Flash, all of those chuds that have openly admitted to lying to you, openly admitted doing that this is a game, that this is just a money-making endeavor, that they don't actually care. They've said this. Jeremy Griggs on Friday Night Tights said this a while ago. And they were all like, bro, shut the fuck up. You're giving away the game. They have their fucking audiences completely fucking wrapped around their little finger. How many of them, legitimately, how many of them backed up Doomcock? Backed up Doomcock for years. Because he kept coming out saying, Kathleen Kennedy is going to be fired. Star Wars is dead. Ah! All the time. Mr. fucking Bedpan Face did that shit all the time. And he was backed up by all of them. Him and Nerdrotic did a stream all the time. He was always hanging out with the Geeks and Gamers guys. He knew all of those people until one day on Friday Night Tights, Ryan Kinnell called him out for being full of shit. And no one defended him. Gary, his own boy, his own friend, didn't defend him. Jeremy, Geeks and Gamers, didn't defend him. In fact, came out and put out a video and says this.
If you believe Doomcock's rumors, that's great. I don't. If you think...
He said that a couple years ago. What does that mean? Because you're obviously a fucking moron. And Left Face here is right. Rage baiting is way, way, way more successful. None of these people believe the grift that they say. They don't believe the lies that they tell you. They don't know the industry, but they know how to lie to you. They know how to make what makes you mad and crank it up to 11 and then fill it with buzzwords that don't exist or don't have any relevance to what they're talking about. And they tie it into the culture war because the culture is downstream, or politics is downstream from culture. It's a quote from Andrew Breitbart, a disgusting human being who I am actually quite glad is dead. But that's the one thing he said I agree with, is that politics is downstream from culture. So what that means is if you can control the culture war, you can control the politics. And the fact that you're 19 years old and you're talking the shit that you are about how Critical Drinker gets 3 million views an episode, clearly he's doing it right, just means that you're a mark and you've been grifted. That's what it means. That's what it all means. And it could be me, it could be Left Face, it could be actual fandom, it could be Mad Max Mandalorian, it could be anybody, Saggy, anyone talking about this shit, calling out these fucking chuds. But it doesn't matter because YouTube will not put that in the algorithm next to those videos for people to see. Because the way that it's designed is to keep you illiterate, angry, and ignorant. And that's exactly, based upon your comments here, what it's done. So for the love of God, let's move on and may God have mercy on your soul. Jesus Christ. Rodney here real quick says, to his credit, Dan does say based on the available info what he guesses. Yeah, but the people take it as 100% fact though. I'll get DMs from people all the time talking about that. Like, you see Dan Murrell said that these movies made no money, and it's all like, again, that's not real, that's not accurate. It's not accurate. If you don't have the full data, then don't put out an estimate. If you don't have the information, then don't lead with it like you've only got 2/3 and think that you can be a valid source on the subject. Do you not understand how that works though? If you don't have the accurate data, don't conclude a thesis. It's not asking a lot. That's not asking a lot, but he puts out these videos and people think that it's real because they don't bother to like, oh, well, this is only, read the asterisk at the bottom of the screen is all it is. Right? It is very stupid. Yeah, I know. What is this? I watch Grace Randolph. When's the last time, RJ, you know me pretty well. Do I ever talk about Grace Randolph videos? Do I ever say I watch Grace Randolph videos? Do I ever, I occasionally I bring her up. Occasionally I'll watch a movie math. If it's Sunday and I'm at work and I have like time to kill, I listen to the first half of that information until she gets to streaming data. Because again, it's not conclusive. It's not conclusive, and I don't trust Nielsen numbers or any of those numbers, fucking Samba TV, none of that shit. So I'll listen to like the hard data that she can report on, and then I cut away when it's soft data that she's speculating. So, no. Like, it is just, yeah, I know, right? Jesus fucking Christ. It's, wow. Okay. Let's get on to something else. I've been derailed enough here, and it's hard for me to get derailed, so kudos to you for actually pulling that off. So let's talk about Nick Cage and Spider-Man Noir, because there's been some stuff going on about this, right? So Nick Cage, he shared a bit of an update in regards to his potential return to certain comic book movie roles. Despite being the voice of Spider-Man Noir in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and of course the upcoming Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, which apparently they haven't like recorded dialogue for yet, Cage has been a little bit cagey and ambivalent, if you will, about diving back into the superhero genre anytime soon. But over at South by Southwest, he was asked if he would consider reprising the Spider-Man Noir role in the upcoming live action series for Prime Video. And Cage has actually confirmed that he has had discussions with Sony, and that he admitted that it's no secret that he loves the character and that he's drawn to it. But he also doesn't have an answer to that. Right? There's been discussions that have been made, and that's really about it. But then in like another interview, Cage then pivoted to downplaying his interest in any future comic book movies or roles in general. He expressed feelings about being typecast by his famous comic collection, claiming that it has eclipsed his deeper literary interests. And then he also says here, and I'm just kind of reading from some reports that I grabbed. Cage stated that the superhero realm is not really on my mind. And he wants to be taken more seriously as an actor. And that's the thing with Nick Cage, right? Nick Cage is the kind of guy that you gotta love, right? You gotta love Nick Cage, because he is really that kind of guy that he does want to be a lot more, what's the word I want to use here? He does want to be seen as being an actor and not just being, right? And not just being, like a typecast comic book guy, right? But he's also been attached to so many comic book things over the years anyway, right? I mean, he was Big Daddy in the first Kick-Ass, which was probably his best role in a superhero role. There was obviously, Ghost Rider and Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. I really like Ghost Rider. I never saw Spirit of Vengeance, but I've heard like it's kind of okay. Like it's really kind of like over the top. Of course, Superman Returns, or sorry, Superman Begins, or whatever the hell it was. Superman Ends, whatever the hell it was, whatever the hell it was that he was attached to with back with Tim Burton back in the 90s and stuff. He's always been in it. His own son is named Kal-El, so he very much loves these characters. But apparently there's only one that he's interested in coming back to. And that one is apparently Ghost Rider. So if Sony or Marvel now has the rights. If Marvel decides that they want to go back in and do Ghost Rider and they want Nick Cage to be Ghost Rider, then that might be something he's into. At the same time, what's interesting about that is there was a room, and I don't like to report on rumors very often because I don't like them. You know what I mean? But Daniel RPK did say on Twitter the other day that apparently Kevin Feige is interested in using Tom Hardy's Venom for the upcoming Secret Wars. And if everyone is coming back for Secret Wars, why not have, Tom Hardy, Nick Cage, bring back freaking like everybody, just have it be everyone. Give us Lou Ferrigno, give us Eric Bana as the Hulks, right? Do all that kind of stuff. I think that would be a lot of fun for them to do. Superman Lives. Thank you. I don't know why I blinked on that. I blinked that. But anyway, here, Tales from the Hood TV says nostalgia gets boring. But that's the kind of thing about nostalgia, right? Nostalgia is a drug. It's absolutely a drug. And I talk about this with my passengers quite often because we talk about it in relation to modern politics, which I won't dive into. But my theory is that if you look at it, like I'm 41, I turned 42 in like 12 days. I'm what you know as an elder millennial. Okay. And so elder millennials, I'm an 80s kid. I'm a 90s kid. I turned 18 in the year 2000. I'm all of that stuff, right? And so what happens is you've got a new Ghostbusters, a new Ninja Turtles movie. There's a He-Man movie on the horizon. There's all this stuff from the 80s. Indiana Jones came back. There's more Star Wars on the horizon. All of this stuff that we had when I was a kid that was new, all of this stuff we had that was new is still like on its way back out because they are selling us nostalgia. All right. The boomers want their nostalgia as well. The Gen Z, Gen Alpha are going to want their nostalgia if they even understand what that means by the time they get old enough. Who knows? It's just, that's what it is. That's really what it is that the nostalgia is a drug. It's designed as a way to make us think back to when we were a kid. Why? Because it's safe. Because there's joyful memories there. It makes you feel good, right? Like, look at the Mario movie that came out a year ago. I just got done watching that again this morning with my kid. I still fundamentally love that movie. I've seen that thing now probably 10 to 15 times in the last year because of my kids, but I also enjoy watching it. I hear the music. It takes me back to when I was a kid. When they're going down into the tunnels in the beginning of the movie and they get to level 1, 2, and you hear dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. I get chills, man. I get chills from that because like that's pulling from when I was a kid. So it brings back those memories. And so I get that dopamine hit, right? And that's a large reason why this shit is as pushed as it is. The problem, though, is when you get these companies that are trying to modernize it. And that's a conversation. That's a conversation. I don't mind continuations, but when they're like, let's do a modern reboot of something. I don't know. We don't necessarily need a modern reboot. Although I do agree with Samir here that nostalgia is toxic and relatively unhealthy. And I agree with that. I do agree with that, by the way. It can be. It very much can be. So, I mean, there's that. All right. So let's talk about Patty Jenkins and the apparent return of Star Wars Rogue Squadron. This is something that's a little creepy. Kind of came out of nowhere, in my opinion, because what in the ever-loving heck is going on with this one? So let me get this over here. I lost my place. Okay. So again, in a surprising development, director Patty Jenkins has revealed that her scrapped Star Wars movie project centered around a group of X-Wing pilots is potentially back on track at Lucasfilm. Originally announced in 2020 as Rogue Squadron, the film was set to hit theaters by the end of 2023. It didn't happen. but it was, quietly shelved and removed from Disney's release schedule. Jenkins divulged that the unexpected news during a recent podcast appearance, stating that after she had parted ways with Lucasfilm to pursue a third Wonder Woman movie, the two sides eventually circled back and finalized her deal to revive the Star Wars project once Wonder Woman fell through the cracks. See, here's the thing with that. Wonder Woman 1984 was a pure abortion of a film. It was not good. It's not remembered well. It's not cherished. It's largely dogged on. And it was a waste of money. It fundamentally hurt the Wonder Woman branding even more than freaking Justice League did in 2017. It just hurt it. And that's why even the cameos of Wonder Woman and not only Shazam 2, but The Flash, both kind of crashed and burned, right? They relied on those cameos, hoping that it was going to try to revitalize the popularity of the character or use whatever remaining popularity of that character was left to bring butts in seats, but it didn't work. And then after that, because we know how Kathleen Kennedy has a tendency of hiring directors working on high value projects that end up maybe not going as well, and then those people kind of just leave everything. But now they're back after Wonder Woman 3 fell through. I mean, okay. Kathleen Kennedy, again, I don't know what you're up to. I don't see this movie coming through. But anyway, according to Patty Jenkins, she now owes Lucasfilm a draft of the script for the X-Wing fighter pilot film after this new agreement was finalized right before the industry went on strike, which makes me wonder if the industry went on strike, if that was the whole point, if she was like talking with Kathy, like, look, they're going to go on strike. You're going to need to have a project in the works or signed on or whatever before we get, whenever, let's get working on this thing. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I'm not too sure because ultimately everything is pretty light on the specifics, but Patty did make it clear that the Rogue Squadron concept is still very much alive and in active development. A lot of people I can see a lot of people being happy over this, a lot of fans being happy over this, but part of me is just like, look, man, after the Rise of Skywalker, and like the build up and the love of the Disney Plus shows, right? Despite whatever you feel about them, they're popular. Okay. This feels like it's a step backwards. Like the Rey movie feels like it's a step backwards. I don't even know if that's even up in the air at this point. I don't even know what's going on with that. I know Daisy Ridley has said some things, but then I've seen some other reports that it's not going to, I don't even know anymore. So much stuff kind of falls through the cracks. It's hard to keep up with everything. But for right now, I think it's on because I haven't seen anything officially reported. But it's just, you figure focusing on Mandalorian and Grogu and Ahsoka and all of those shows like Andor, all of that stuff that does really well would be the thing that they want to do. The only way, in my opinion, for this movie to do well, literally, is if they decided that they would then set it during the original trilogy, right? Or during the post, right? During that 5-year period, the 5-year gap leading into Mandalorian, when Luke, whenever he was working with the Rogue Squadron, have it be a Luke-centered story, have it be that. I know people don't want that, but it's like, if you're going to have it during a time when they're the most active, which is battling the Empire, because nobody wants to see them battling the First Order. Nobody cares about the First Order. I don't know why this is such a big issue for Disney. The First Order is gone. It's kaput. It's over. It's done with. They need to rebrand their Galaxy's Edge to be about the original trilogy and have it be about the Empire. They need to redo the Galactic Star Cruiser and have it be set during the original trilogy. It's like, it's not difficult to figure out what audiences want. Now, granted, that ties back into the whole nostalgia element, and I get that, but it's like they've tried to expand too far out and it didn't work. Right. And even Lucas had trouble getting the prequels to work. But there's a lot of ground in between the original trilogy, both right before and right after with Mandalorian, that is rife for good storytelling. As we've seen with Andor, as we've seen with Mandalorian, as we've seen with Cal Kestis in the Jedi Survivor games, as we've seen with everything that they've been working on. We know the level, like the timeline from beginning to end of what's going to work. And unfortunately, it's not, I don't know. It's not doing everything. I don't know what they're going to do. I just think this is like a dead idea that should have stayed a dead idea. Tales from the Hood here says Kathleen Kennedy strikes again. Vince here says, I prefer Star Wars stuff without the Force or the Jedi. You know what? I actually agree. I think Andor worked better because of that. Right. I still think it works better. Brandon here says Bad Batch final season is great so far. 2 episodes has dropped. I did hear about that. So there's a lot going on here. Yeah. There's 7 episodes total so far this season. I think about halfway done with the season for Bad Batch. And a lot of it is up in the air. So yeah, there's that. Samir says, I think that they would need to scale back output and make Star Wars rare and special. They want to do that theatrically. I don't think Star Wars needs to be every 6 months. Right. But you could do once a year. You could do once a year and have it be okay. You could make that work. It could be a thing. I think that would be all right. I think you could do movies like that and have it all kind of tie together, which is what they want to do anyway. But it's like, for some reason they get cold feet, or their marketing departments or some department is like, just like, this is what Kevin Feige did well. He leaned into everything and it worked. But these other companies are so afraid to lean into it, especially DC. Like, my God. But I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into that subject. I don't want to get into that. Because it's definitely an issue. Mo here says, you want us to go backwards. I not really go backwards, but to stay in an area that we know works. In an area that we know that actually works. I think that's going to be okay. So why don't we get into the final story of tonight? And that, of course, is Sydney Sweeney and Madam Web, saying here she's unfazed by the flop. And that's kind of funny to me because, a lot of people have been kind of talking some trash about this, but here's what we know. Rising star Sydney Sweeney is taking the entertainment industry by storm. If you haven't paid attention, she is. She's only 26. She's producing multiple movies. Anyone But You, exec producer, immaculate producer, that she starred in both of those. Her and Glenn Powell are already working on their next couple films. I think ideas they want to work together that she'll probably be an exec producer on. But her latest big budget movie, Madam Web, largely missed the mark with not only audiences, but critics alike. Sydney Sweeney, known for being a Euphoria actress, mostly she seems completely unfazed by the poor movie reception. Even at SNL, she made a comment about, like, you've seen me in Euphoria, but you haven't seen me in Madam Web. We all laughed at it because it's true. However, in a recent interview at South by Southwest surrounding her new film, Immaculate, Sweeney did address the Madam Web disappointment with a strikingly nonchalant attitude, according to this report, saying, I was just hired as an actress in it, so I was along for the ride for whatever was going to happen. That's it. She said that pretty matter of fact, too, according to the report. Her laissez-faire perspective highlights how Sweeney doesn't seem to be putting too much stock in the film's failure. After all, the rising star is fresh off starring in 2 other major releases over the past few months, the hit romantic comedy Anyone But You and the critically acclaimed drama Reality. Again, she's stretching her acting wings, and she's also getting into the producer side of it, which means she's taking her power on that specific front. And her power on that specific front is going to be one that does, I think, quite well with a lot of people. But when it comes to Madam Web, even though Sydney Sweeney is just like, whatever, I got paid, it's fine, I'm going to go work on more stuff. Dakota Johnson, while echoing similar sentiments, is kind of doing a little bit like more so, I guess, because she's expressed that she wasn't surprised by the lukewarm response. She was criticized, or she did criticize a trend of movies being made by committee rather than a singular creative vision. And I think for a lot of Hollywood right now, that's kind of the big issue, that it's mostly movies made by committee. That was something that I think we said mostly as a joke a while back, but now it's seeming more and more real, that these companies are just getting execs together in a boardroom, trying to figure out how to hit every single mark, how to check every single box, how to make it the biggest and widest hit that they can, without realizing that if you're trying to adapt a property like something like Madam Web, speak to your core demographic. And the core demographic was supposed to be women in this case. That's what they wanted. This movie was supposed to be for women who want to see superhero movies, but 64% or so of the opening weekend demographic were men. Were men. And the movie wasn't marketed to women, and the movie wasn't even really marketed to men. The movie wasn't really marketed to anyone. I mean, look, Sydney Sweeney is like your biggest and brightest on that cast with the assets to make Twitter go horny when she was on SNL a couple weeks ago. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, they didn't play into that. Now, granted, she's supposed to be like, I think 18 years old or something like that in the movie. So it'd be kind of weird, to be fair, to have her marketed like that. But it's like, I don't know. I don't know what they're supposed to do. I mean, they clearly didn't do that. And that's probably for the best, to be honest with you. I'm making jokes, but it is for the best probably to not sexualize 18-year-olds. But that being said, it's like, what do you do? What do you do? The movie was a gigantic flop. But she doesn't even really, know. She doesn't care. I mean, she's insisting that Madam Web was simply just an experience and was, kind of unrattled when reminded of the project during her South by Southwest interviews. Her relaxed demeanor, according to this report, stems from knowing she has several other buzzworthy projects lined up, including the third season of Euphoria, which is coming at some point in time. And her career is really on track right now. Her career is massively on track, meaning that she can do what she wants. So having Madam Web just kind of like whatever is not the end of her career in any circumstance. It's not. It's only getting started. Real quick here. Command Unit says the girls in Madam Web are abnormally sexualized. Are they? I haven't seen the movie. So I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen it yet. But I feel like they should have probably done more with that then if that's the case. Left Face here says, this is something I think normies don't understand. You get hired as an actor. You go and do the job. If the producers, writers, and advertising, etc. fail, why would the actor take that as a slight? Well, because their name and their face is all over it, to be fair. Their name and their face is all over it. So as a result of that, they are, they are wanting to be treated a certain way. They are not treated a certain way. They're putting themselves out there in a way where the writers, the producers, the directors, the marketing team, they're not, but they're also paid the big bucks to put themselves out there. They are paid to not only be a sword, but a shield for the movie as well. Right. Like, so it's a very weird dichotomy, but that's obviously what it boils down to. And it's like, in the case of Madam Web, everyone knew it was a dumpster fire. And then Dakota Johnson was like, well, we're not doing another one. And I don't think I'm going to come back to work for the studio. So screw it. I'm just going to say what I want to say. And that's sad, to be honest with you. That's pretty sad. Let's see here. Music Man says they should have used them Sydney Sweeney titties to sell them. I mean, we talked about that though. She's like, she's a teenager in the movie. I can't find a specific age, 18, 19, somewhere in there at least. But it's like, I don't know. Maybe that would have done more. If they would have if they would have had more of her in like the outfit, maybe that would have driven up momentum. Maybe that would have gotten dudes to want to go see it. I don't know. I have no idea if that's the case or not. It's very odd. It's very weird. But those are my stories for today. So we can take a quick look here at the chat, see what you guys are saying. If you want to get some final comments in for the next couple minutes. Anthony here says, after Craven flops, they should be done. Well, I mean, the way I look at it is that in regards to something like Craven, right? Craven being R-rated, being violent, being bloody, being all that kind of stuff might actually end up benefiting Craven to the point of where it actually could like make it some money. You know what I mean? Out of sheer curiosity, right? Morbius had like It's Morbin time and shit like that, which kind of helped out. But Madam Web had none of that. And it's like they keep tying things to Spider-Man without actually having Spider-Man in the movie. And that's the biggest problem. Like, that's the biggest problem. And I said this before and I stand by this. If they would like work a deal with Marvel or just say F it and be unauthorized like side content to the MCU, then they'd make more money. Marvel doesn't have to acknowledge them at all. Like, at all. But they could easily find those touch points to come on in and like make stories that work. Left Face here says they're not going to stop doing movies. They want to keep the license. I thought so too. I looked this up. Apparently they own it in perpetuity, right? Like, I thought they had to keep making movies or else they lose the license, but apparently that's not the case from what I read, but that information could be wrong. I know that what I heard is if Sony sells Columbia Pictures, which is who owns the rights to Spider-Man, the film rights to Spider-Man, if that happens, then they will end up, like those rights will revert back to Marvel. You know what I'm saying? But eventually, like, you're going to blow so much money and you're going to create so much bad faith That is just not going to work out very well, I think. Yeah, I know. That's what I heard. That's what I read. If someone, knows or doesn't, I don't quite know. But then again, if they release like a movie in a year, Spider-Man film is coming out, the movie's going to do better straight up because of slingshot effect. Look at Venom 2. I've talked about that. Command Unit here says, even in their civilian clothes, they look like hub parodies. The casting and costume teams were 100% horny during work. Sydney Sweeney's character, Julia Carpenter, that's the character's name, right? And she's got like this short skirt and like the thigh high, whatever. I mean, yeah, it's like a Catholic schoolgirl outfit sort of thing. I can understand that. Samir says they don't need to keep making these movies to keep the license. They do need to keep making Spider-Man movies. Oh, I see. Well, get up on that one then. Get up on that. That's the thing. Anyway. If they sell Columbia Pictures, then yes, the rights will go back to Marvel and Disney. Yeah, and they don't want to do that. They do not want to do that at all. Because if they get rid of all that, that's not going to look good for them now, is it? It's not going to look good for them. So, all right. We are at 55 minutes. We can go for a couple more. Here's the thing, guys, real quick. If you guys, I didn't mention this in the beginning, but I did watch Batman Under the Red Hood last night. I did watch it. It was really good. I need to record my thoughts and my opinions on it. That is a special episode of Patio Commentary. I know I've been talking about it now for like 2 weeks. I finally did sit down to watch it last night. Really enjoyed the hell out of it. Looking forward to diving into more of the DC animated movies because I am insanely behind. So I will be recording my thoughts on that probably maybe later on tonight. I think I'm going to be home from work at around 1:30 in the morning. So maybe if I'm awake, I will do that. 15 years late. It doesn't matter 15 years or not, Mo. Shut up. Brandon here says the DC and Marvel animated stuff are great. Yeah. But that is going to go up on the Patio Commentary YouTube account. Stuff like that gets buried over here, and I'm just going to put it up over on youtube.com/wrong graphic. There's the right graphic. On youtube.com/Patio Commentary will be where that's at. And yeah, I'm gonna start putting more stuff over there. I'm probably just going to just do like long form recordings, my thoughts and my opinions for these movies. I'm 50 years late on The Godfather. I am. Haven't seen any of the Godfather movies. It's because I'm waiting for somebody to pay me to watch them. I'm waiting for someone as a Patio Commentary sponsorship. Be like, here's $150. Watch fucking all 3 Godfather movies. And I'm like, you son of a bitch. God damn it, fine. I want to get that PS5 because they're on sale right now. That's how it works. Anyway. Oh, and Rocky. Yeah, I got the movies that HWAD sent me right over there. So yeah, they're there. You're a fucking monster for that. I'm not. I'm a capitalist, Mo. I'm a capitalist that's trying to like talk about movies and stuff. Anyway, again, for those of you who don't know, because right now we are rocking 45 on YouTube and 112 on Twitter, guys. Thank you so much. I do talk about movies. I want to talk about them more. I do have Patio Commentary, youtube.com/Patio Commentary. It's a lot of fun. I love just diving into movies and just kind of having a chat. I still have been trying to like figure out the best way to go about it to kind of like do what I want to do and to do it more frequently. It is just hard to do with everything. Left Face asking, have you been following the Sweet Baby Inc. story? Yeah, I don't care. Like, I don't care. My complaint is not with Sweet Baby Inc., to be honest with you. My complaint is with the media. It's always been with the media. Like, look, do I care about Sweet Baby Inc.? The answer to that is no. I don't care about them like at all. It's like, it is not that big of a deal. This is not like, now some of the commentary from like the lady in charge is stupid and they need to shut the fuck up. Like, they just need to shut the fuck up. Like, they need to go on company-wide lockdown, shut the fuck up for a while. And that's it. Just shut the fuck up. That's all they got to do. It's not hard to figure out the best way to let this pass is to shut the fuck up. Let the other side run out of steam. But the problem though, is that the other side, and this is like, fuck was that? But the other side is very much in this particular place where they are looking for a fight that they can make political during an election year where they can all make a lot of money. And that's what it boils down to. The whole situation with Sweet Baby Inc. is really not an issue. Like, who cares? Did you play fucking Alan Wake 2? Did you like Sage's character? Did it seem authentic? Then fine. Like, fuck it. The ESG shit is capitalism. It's fucking capitalism, right? DEI is capitalism. This isn't about trying to control wokeness, assholes. This is about trying to fucking make money. It's all capitalism. It's all done in service of making green. Okay, let's take Remedy, for example. Remedy's like, hey, listen, we want to have a secondary protagonist in Alan Wake. And she's a female black officer named Sage. Okay, this is our character. Is our character authentic? Does our character come across as feeling authentic? Or will our character come across as feeling stereotypical? If our character comes across as feeling stereotypical, we will be lambasted for that, for being tone deaf, and for not doing our due diligence to create a realistic representation of that character. We are a bunch of white dudes from Finland. We don't know a lot of black people. So what do? You find a company out there that can help you identify more authentic ways of telling this character story. And that's really about it. That's like the most sanitized way I can say it. And if you think about it from that logical perspective, you're like, oh, yeah, it's not so bad, is it? It's not so bad. It's kind of whatever. Right? Let's see here. Left Face says, we're talking to the journalist getting a lot of shit tonight. Which journalist is that? I'll have to listen. Send me a DM with what time you're going live, because I'll be working, but I should have some time to listen. Let's see here. I know you don't want to talk about DC drama, but thoughts about Aaron Fisher asking for $10,000 for debates. His voice acting career must be driving up. So Mo here says, Matt telling a woman of color to shut up, that's fucked up. I don't mean that in any way, the way you're trying to frame it, you dick. But no, it's an optics issue. It's always an optics issue. All right. Everything with Gamergate was a fucking optics issue. Make no fucking mistake about that. Anyway, here, Moon Command Unit, thank you for 5. Been re-listening to Caiaphas Cain 40K books on Audible. If anyone wants a good and enjoyable read with no lore knowledge and needing prior to read. So if you have Warhammer 40K, it's coming to Amazon. A couple years, right? Henry Cavill's leading the charge to tie it back into stuff. Command Unit likes 40K. He's telling you to read Caiaphas Cain novels if you just want to get into 40K without having to know any of the lore. So there you go. Thank you. Also, Command Unit for 5, thank you, says, the only project I know 100% ruined by woke hiring and writing practices is The Witcher. Funny thing about that, too, is Beau DeMayo, who was the guy just fired from Disney over at X-Men 97, he was one of the writers on the first season of The Witcher. And he made complaints about that as well. I don't know if I'd say like it was woke hiring practices or whatever, but it's like, maybe it was. I don't know. I don't have a problem with like representation, diversity, inclusion. I don't have any problem. I don't have a problem with any of that shit. All right. But I just don't want to. My whole thing is, and this is how I say for everything, is if you want people to fucking accept it, then you have to just act like it's normal and people will accept it. Like that's the whole point. We live in an age now, again, attention is the only commodity that you really need, right? Good, bad, or the other. So people draw all this attention to shit and it causes controversy, but it never benefits them. It never benefits them to create that controversy. Like it just never does. If I see a headline that's all like, you know, the first like trans otherkin woman of color who identifies as a rooster living on the moon, how does that make you feel about being all of these things rolled into one, being in this project? I'm like, what does that have to do with being in the project? What does that tell me about the project? Nothing. It's creating a headline for the sake of trying to get clicks, to piss off people because they know that anger will make more money than happiness. It's 100%. Okay. So Melissa Mercante on the Blurred. It's on Blurred Without Fear. Okay. Yeah. DM me. I'll check it out. Vince here says that apparently he got fired for having an OnlyFans account, according to John Campia. Why? You're working for the House of Mouse. Why show your dick? Just saying. That's weird. That's true. That's weird. That's crazy, actually. It's kind of funny. Anyway. Okay. Chris here says, even people like the Quarting and Geeks and Gamers are calling out people like Matt Walsh. Really? I don't watch their content. You know what it is? It's because if Matt Walsh attacks like video games or something like that, right? That's how you do it. That's how you do it. You get the right wing to start attacking video games, to Jack Thompson that shit. That's how you're going to see change. They start Jack Thompsoning everything. Something like that. Let's see here. Okay. Command Unit here for 5. Thank you, buddy. Netflix hired a female director who wasn't a fan of fantasy. She wrote a few Marvel and Netflix TV shows, and she rushed to design, writing, casting, etc. I know who you're talking about. Yeah, Netflix hired her, and they probably shouldn't have, to be honest with you. Something like, this is the thing. Like, imagine if you took something like Warhammer 40K. Okay. And they brought in the most liberal, leftist, soy drinking, oatmeal eating. I love oatmeal, by the way. I don't know why I added that. Person. This is just an idea. I'm not trying to insult anybody. And they brought in that person who absolutely abhors violence, abhors blood, abhors everything like that, and then turned 40K into a soft story about a sensitive space marine who doesn't want to fight, who actively runs away from the fight. You would see bedlam and chaos on the internet. You would see all of that, because it doesn't make sense given the context of the lore. When people want to adapt things, they need to not adapt for modern audiences. I'm sorry. I'll stand by that comment. If a story is based at a certain place at a certain time with certain people, and that's why it's popular, that's what you focus on. Other than that, you run the risk of just causing more problems than not. And I know that might make me a bad lefty to say it, but I don't give a shit, because it's true. It's true. You know, if you want to like piss off the Christians, adapt the Bible, but have it be a black guy. Watch what happens there. You know, they're going to lose their shit. You know, look what, like this, that's what they, you know, yeah. A conscientious observing space marine. Exactly. Exactly, Vince. Exactly. But all right, guys, I got to get going. Here. I will talk to everybody tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Hollywood After Dark. Thank you again for the support, you guys. Twitter, you guys are killing it. YouTube, you guys are killing it. Like the video, subscribe if you're new. Leave a comment. I'll talk to you all later.